My name is Precious Green. I am currently a grad certificate student at Western Michigan pursuing my TLLP. And I'm super excited to have everyone here. Systematic change in Detroit is very important for me as I am a Detroit native. So I was able to view the different limiting stereotypes that are happening, especially for those people of color. So I just would like to introduce myself, and then I would also like to introduce my guest speaker, Tia Thompson.
Hi, my name is Tia Thompson. I am a community health worker in Lula in the city of Detroit. I serve youth, families, pregnant women, all over the city and as well as in our Illuminating area. Thank you for allowing me to be here today to talk about my lived experience. I lived in Detroit area majority of my life. I'm 4 years old now, so currently don't live in Detroit, but continue to serve the community there where I'm from.
Okay, so this presentation is going to be very interactive. So if I can ask everyone, if you feel comfortable to just scoot up a little bit, there are some different crowd engagements that will be going on, so feel free to mingle. Illuminating systematic change in Detroit, obviously it's a very significant thing going on, especially in the times we're living in now. I would say the world is rapidly evolving, and whether that's social systems, corporate structures, or personal development, this is something that we're looking forward to just advocate for and things like that. So I mentioned a crowd interactive, and since we are talking about Detroit, I'm gonna ask everyone to just tell me what are the first 3 things that come to mind when you think of Detroit.
So, hi, my name is Keenan, and 3 things I would say: food, strong, and welcoming.
Nice. Anyone else?
Resilience is a word that wants to learn.
I love that. Anybody else want to share? No? Okay. So my perception of Detroit, it is actually the city that cradled me into the woman I am today. It built me into the woman that I continue to pursue in the future. Growing up on the west side of Detroit, I never really experienced any violence or nothing that was super stereotypical. I never experienced that Detroit life as people might claim it to be, but I can definitely say that it has served a huge foundation into the goals that I have for myself and also wanting to impact others as well. Detroit continues to face high rates of poverty, unemployment, and violent crimes according to the Detroit Health Department from 2023. Over 33% of Detroit residents live below the poverty line, with unemployment rates constantly above the national average. Meanwhile, the city ranks among the top 10 in the US for violent crimes. These conditions are linked to generational trauma, disinvestment, and under-resourced mental health systems. And just a fun fact, 1998 introduced the Adverse Child Experiences study showing a direct correlation between childhood trauma and long-term mental health and physical health issues, many of which are visible within the city. Just some historical considerations. Detroit have a very rich history. We all know it to be the Motor City. It came from different things as far as resilience with the Indian War, the Revolution, and I'm pretty sure some are familiar with the Detroit riot. So when we're talking about generational trauma, all of these different hardships we face as a city, let's just sit and think could that possibly be the reason why we're experiencing all these different issues in regards to poverty, lack of resources, unemployment, and things like that? The 20th century saw the rise of the automobile industry, with Detroit becoming the motor city, and with the Great Migration from the South, African Americans came north seeking jobs and prosperity. Racial tensions and have led to uprisings. These events led to the city development of the civil rights movement. So here today, I kind of want to just touch on the timeline of Detroit. It definitely started off with such, I'm gonna say, wealth, a lot of people living in the city, building it up. And now, as we look at it today, it's also on a rise. We have different things coming into play as far as apartments, housing, small businesses, opportunities, yet we're still considered one of the top dangerous cities in the nation. Present day. In 2015, Detroit recorded a staggering violent crime rate of 1,759 incidents per 100,000 residents, making it the second highest in the nation. By 2018, the Federal Bureau of Investigation designated it as the most dangerous city in the U.S. Insights from DMACA, also known as Detroit Metropolitan Area Community Study, WAVE, conducted last year from June 18th to August 19th, revealed a mixed employment landscape, with half of the participants reporting that they were not working and some were paid in the past month, while the other 49% were working. Among those who were not working, only 3% were able to receive some type of resources or benefits. So unfortunately, out of that 97%, they did not receive any type of resources when it came to being unemployed. More than half of 58% had not actively sought out new employment in the previous months, and 33% felt it was unlikely they would secure paid work in the near future. So my question to you all would be, how did Detroit dramatically transform to the transportation hub that we all know as the Motor City to being one of the most violent cities in America? The community healing, who had community healing? Okay, so I love to hear you guys' input as far as the advocacy.
One of the things that we found ourselves talking about was kind of a gap between folks who are doing work already embedded in communities where maybe not a lot of folks realize that resources already exist. You know, somebody on your own block is already trying to help. Mm-hmm. And then these larger systems who maybe make assumptions about what is needed, what needs to be funded, et cetera. And there's just a gap, you know, between where resources go and what is actually needed and already happening on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Okay, what about economic empowerment?
We've had economic empowerment back here. One of the things that Brian was bringing up is that in economic empowerment, it can be a little difficult to identify with that umbrella as a whole big umbrella, and that sometimes having smaller, more niche services, the one he brought up is I want to become a lawyer, what pathway do I take to become a lawyer, can attract more audiences than yeah, I need help financially, and that there's some stigma around that was what he was kind of alluding to. And so that was one of the things that we were talking about within advocacy is what does it look like to focus on a specific area that removes some of the stigma around the work of empowering yourself economically.
Okay, nice. And lastly, how about mental health?
We also have that over here tomorrow.
Oh.
You want to share about some of the ideas we had around advocacy and mental health?
For mental health, I said that most of the time people don't fully talk about mental health. They only talk about larger subjects, and that's mainly because of what the more famous people talk about versus what they actually know about it. So if you take those same famous people and have them speak more about what it really is, that can have a rippling effect between the people that watch it and the people that don't. The people that watch will take what they say to the people that don't watch it, and they'll continuously spread it on, and it'll be an ongoing cycle. So if you take what mental health really is, to have them explain it to the people that watch them, everybody will know what it really is. They'll know how important it is to actually know about mental health.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, to tie into one of the things that Ryan said, people usually don't hear about mental health till they get older, like the middle teenage ages. So for me, I would say I didn't hear anything about or didn't understand mental health till my ninth grade. I'm a junior right now in high school. And yeah, it was introduced to me in 8th grade, like it was one event they had in school. But I would say people clueless or misinformation on mental health can have an effect.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of the key points that you guys put out. I know for myself, mental health was never really talked about in the household. Like, of course we were resilient, but we never really talked about, oh, well, how are you feeling? Or how did this make you feel? It was always like suppressed and never really talked about. It was just like a cycle of that. And then as soon as I got into adulthood, it's kind of like, wow, I don't even know how to dictate my emotions. I don't know how to dictate my feelings about certain things. I don't know how to express myself. So I definitely do think, like you said, there are ripple effects when it comes to like not looking into mental health or just taking that time to self-care for yourself. So one thing that I did want to mention to you all was with the advocacy challenge, I love how all of you guys were able to like just give me your insights and your inputs about advocacy. One thing for me as far as advocacy, especially within Detroit, as a student in training or a counselor in training, something that is like something I'm passionate about is just like pouring into the city that made me who I am today. Because noticing the different communities that are experiencing such hardships, and regardless if I never experienced to that depth, it's kind of needed. Just noticing the people I'm surrounded with, influencing with, and I guess something that I can advocate for is how we all are unique and we all have a purpose. And this here is where I've created like the sweatshirts to remind ourselves daily, like, I'm just a person with a purpose, you're just a person with a purpose, we all have some type of design purpose. So with that being said, I would like to introduce Tia. She is very seasoned within this industry. I was able to meet her a couple of months back and we were able to connect. So I just like to put the floor for Tia.
So like I mentioned earlier, I work within the city of Detroit. I have a lived experience. I grew up in Detroit. I was born and raised on the east side of Detroit, and I love my city. Like, thinking about how it was when I was growing up, we weren't wealthy, but I did think we were rich. And that was only because we always had a vehicle, we always had a house, we always had food, we always had clothes, I always had toys. Like, having those things made me feel rich when I was a kid. I knew I wasn't wealthy because of the TV shows I would watch, their traveling, their jet setting, their boating, their skiing. So I knew the difference. But in actuality, we wasn't rich. My mom worked all the time. My dad worked day and night. I was babysitting my little sisters and brothers, and not only them, I was babysitting half the kids on the neighborhood. So when you're a child and you see these things, not knowing how to feel these things and express these things because mental health is not being talked about. Being overworked, burnout, those things are not being talked about. You look at that as normal. So when I was growing up, I always thought, wow, I gotta work. I want to have a family. I want to help my community, of course. I want to help the kids. But it was always striving for that goal of being rich, and then you hit reality and there's barriers. I was a teen mom. I had my son at 16. Barrier I faced was not having transportation. That's a huge barrier currently still in our community, even though we have public transportation. But you have to think about it as if a mom has 5 kids, she has to pay for all of those kids to get on the bus except for the one that's in the stroller or she can carry. Uber, Lyfts, nowadays we have those type of transportation, but they're expensive. Those $10 a day, one way or 2 ways, that will add up for a family who might possibly be getting only $300 a month in food stamps, and someone's making $500 and something every 2 weeks. They can't spend half of their paycheck on money and food because they still have to get to work, they still have to pay bills, they still have to buy things for your kids. So those are like the differences that I see from when I was younger until I see now. Working hands-on with the community, I hear a lot of the same things about the barriers they're facing. Transportation is always number 1. Number 2 is always mental health. They don't have access to it. We provide a lot of resources. DWIN is a major organization here that provides a lot of help for mental health. So you guys are here in Michigan, so if anyone asks, DWIN is like the place to go to make sure they get somewhere where they're actually going to get help and you outsource to a therapist or some licensed professional. Lack of access to opportunities. Like you mentioned, someone mentioned about wanting to be a lawyer and having that opportunity and that access and that funding. A lot of kids, they think just because they're on their phones or got their head down that they don't have dreams and goals. But trust me, they do. For a long time, I thought all of the kids are getting sucked into the phones. But when the kids in my program, we started asking them like, why do you guys want to be on your phones? They like the stuff that they see. Yes, they do. They do want to watch these things. It is fun to them. They are dreaming of having a baby back one day or something. But they still have dreams and goals of going to college, doing very purposeful things in their community and living authentic lives. They just don't know the direction to go to get there. A lot of people that they are surrounded with can't tell them how to get there either because their mom or dad might not have went to college, might not even finish high school. The literacy rate for Michigan right now for adults and children, I think it's it might be about 4th grade reading level, and that's less than that sometimes. I'm a reading tutor at DPS schools, and I can just tell you this, the kids in high school cannot read. They can't even comprehend, putting a sentence together. And that barrier, that's another barrier, is access to quality, not only having good quality teachers who care, but quality materials, quality things that's going to help them thrive. So I feel like looking back and thinking, things were easier back then because I didn't have the majority of these struggles until I became an adult and I had to put my foot on the other side of that sidewalk and say, wow, now I'm a mom. Now I'm experiencing these barriers and challenges. And now the community that I help are still facing these same barriers and challenges. And I think a lot of that comes from a lot of, we do get a lot of funding here in Detroit. One day I sat and researched funding as far back as 2016 just for Detroit public schools. And that's when I found out that schools get multiple ways of funding, not just one pot of gold and hey, figure out what to do with it. No, they get a heavy stream of funding for programs, for lunch, for transportation, for this, for that. And it's a lot of mismanagement of funds. It's a lot of like overspending on things. Sometimes you go into these schools and the art teacher is not there anymore. And they just close the classroom down. There's no art teacher anymore, but the room is full of art supplies. But then they go buy more art supplies for summer camp and after school programs. So when you already have like a I would say a $20,000 classroom with everything in it, and then you're spending $10,000 on a summer budget or after-school program budget, that's wasteful spending. That spending could have went towards like food, which a lot of people will ask for more commonly at things than anything else. They're asking for extra food. They're asking, there's resources for food. Where can they go for food? And there are some programs that help so when the kids are out of school, they're able to access food in the summertime at like the libraries, community centers, and families can go have dinners together at a lot of organizations. Like we do family nights with our families for the kids in our program. We always have food for them when they come into the program. We are always smiling when they come into the door, because we have to set the narrative for change for them. We can't be what they're used to seeing. So even on my worst days when I'm tired and I'm burned out and well, my son is 22, so I can't even say like if I'm like trying to chase behind my son anymore, but he's 22. So even on my worst days, I still make sure I show up and greet them with a smile, ask them how their day is, ask them what's going on. And even if they don't want to talk, they always know they have to talk to Miss Tia. They always know they have to share something about their day, something about something they learned, or something how they helped someone else. So those are like the 3 mandatory things we talk about when they come in, and then they always have access to that food. The families come in, we build that trust up with them, and once you build trust with the families and the communities, they will feel more comfortable about telling you about their barriers, telling you about their mental health struggles, telling you about their family problems. Without that trust, without them feeling you are genuinely concerned about them, the conversations are limited. It's very like, oh, I'm doing okay, I'm good. So I would say like the first step with some of you guys who are going to be going off into your career fields or interning soon, build relationships up. Go to a lot of networking events. There's always something going on in Detroit. Like there's always something going on. You want to be in community, boots to the ground. You don't want to just be at school, getting your education, and then go into their workplace. You want to make the connections now with organizations, with people in the community, with the rec centers, with the city council members, with the district members, to build up that authenticity.
Yeah, I hope everyone was able to gain like a better understanding in regards to the systematic change. Like, you don't have to be your environment. You can overcome those obstacles, those stereotypes. And then also in regards to the systematic change, like when we're looking into community healing, economic development, we all pretty much like touched on like the key points of those. And something that I really just wanted to pitch to you guys before it does come to like an ending. The purpose room is something that I've been like working on or leaning towards too as like a professional or aspiring professional entering the field. And when I think of the purpose room, it's a collective that is well-rounded. We're focusing on wellness, we're focusing on mental health, and also just focusing on like just self-reflection, self-intervention, and just like realizing that it all starts with us. And yeah, I have like a little sign-in sheet if y'all want to like stay updated with some things, let me know. But that is the closing of this presentation.